Yo, what's good? We're back with another one.
It's showtime.
Fort Jefferson. They built this in 1846. 16 million bricks. Okay, so here's the craziest thing about this. So I believe it's 70 miles-ish off the coast of Florida on the Gulf side. Who did they think was going to attack them from that vantage point? It's also 70 miles off the coast, so it could easily be avoided. You know, like you're not protecting the mainland United States with that fort. And the craziest part about all of it was there's no fresh water on that.
No water, yeah. No water.
Try to wrap your mind around what the purpose of this place was based on the timeline we're taught that it was built. It makes no sense whatsoever. And what we're told is they sent prisoners and people like that over there to build it. And it's the most complicated masonry style of how they put the bricks together.
And all that stuff. Yeah.
We can't even fathom 16 million bricks, but they would have had to ship the bricks 70 miles, boatloads of them. And then they did what with this place?
Nothing. Yeah.
It's all a lie. It's all a lie. I mean, that's all you can really say is that was there before. We don't know when that was there. We don't know who used it and for what reason. But we know that they didn't build that thing as some kind of outpost for potentially the future civil war that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But the British, again, it's like on the Gulf side of Florida. Like, it's really not good strategically. But like I said, with no fresh water?
Never heard of this place. Why would they build it if there's no water there?
They didn't build it, bro. It's left over from Tartaria.
This video is from San Francisco.
A stamped brick with ARR, and we know that what used to be there said T, car. TCARR. Look at this. See, there are still fully intact bricks in.
Wow.
We melted. Like
What?
that one right there.
What is that?
Much of it is melted beyond recognition, but
That's
a
what
lot
it
of
is.
it, like this, is still obviously long. Now, how old is this tree?
Right.
How long ago did this happen?
That's in San Francisco. I gotta go check it out.
Yes, definitely. You need to. Get the
And it's
drone.
all melted down like as if it was candle wax. It was
Whoa.
torch.
That is what that looks like, dude.
Falling down channels.
Holy
Channels of melted
mackerel.
bricks. Like right there. Look at that. Still bricks sitting there, and that's the same kind of brick that this is. That's stamped.
This is the evidence because there is a case of partial preservation of what was there. You know, because if you didn't find the bricks, you didn't see the little details of bricks in there, somebody would just say, oh, well, wind and water did this over 1 million years, right? They would say, oh, it was 15 billion years caused rocks to look like this. No, it took about probably 10 seconds of like the hottest thing you could possibly imagine, just burning something, and it literally melted like a candle melts. That's what you see there. Like, what happened in our recent past? I think it's very fascinating. When I really got curious about the western part of the United States and like stuff like the Valley of Fire, in my mind, I was thinking of the days of Noah, maybe. I was thinking maybe like sometime around like the days of Jesus, like thousands of years ago. But when you find stamped bricks in there, so that means there was a brick factory that made bricks, right? You know, so obviously I think even like the earliest brick factories were like in we're told, the mid 19th century. They had factories that made bricks en masse. So when did this thing melt like that?
I just looked up melted brick wall San Francisco. There ain't nothing about this, dude.
That clearly used to be some sort of structure, bro.
Yeah, it's pretty undeniable. There's fucking bricks sticking out of it.
Does humanity know what it's doing?
No. I think we're moving into a period when, for the first time ever, we may have things more intelligent than us.
You believe they can understand?
Yes.
You believe they are intelligent?
Yes.
You believe these systems have experiences of their own and can make decisions based on those experiences?
In the same sense as people do, yes.
Are they conscious?
I think they probably don't have much self-awareness at present. So in that sense, I don't think they're conscious.
Will they have self-awareness?
Oh, yes. I think they're willing to.
And so human beings will be the second most intelligent beings on the planet.
Yeah. We have a very good idea of sort of roughly what it's doing. But as soon as it gets really complicated, we don't actually know what's going on any more than we know what's going on in your brain.
What do you mean we don't know exactly how it works? It was designed by people.
No, it wasn't. What we did was we designed the learning algorithm. That's a bit like designing the principle of evolution. But when this learning algorithm then interacts with data, it produces complicated neural networks that are good at doing things, but we don't really understand exactly how they do those things.
We're doomed, bro.
No, I think they're going to do a lot of good with AI.
We're going to get to a point where we have longevity escape velocity, and it's not that far away. I think if you're diligent, you'll be able to achieve that by 2029. So right now, you go through a year, use up a year of your longevity, but you get back from scientific progress right now about 4 months. But that scientific progress is on an exponential curve. It's going to speed up every year. And by 2029, if you're diligent, you'll use up a year of your longevity with the year passing, but you'll get back a full year. And past 2029, you'll get back more than a year.
So, do you think that anybody in this audience, in their current biological body, will live to be 500 years old?
Absolutely.
And who?
I mean, if you're going to be alive in 5 years, and I imagine all of you will be alive in 5 years.
No, okay. If they're alive for 5 years, they will likely live to be 500 years old.
If they're diligent, and I think the people in this audience will be diligent.
See? Imagine if we could live for 500 years.
Yeah, so we can be slaves to AI.
That's the upscaling.
So you basically said upscale this image on the left,
and
you get the image on the right.
We'll have that real time in a couple of years, so your boxy video games will look a lot more realistic.
So just literally as you can take an old game and play it in surreal life.
Yes, but if you go to the next slide, these videos with our video model were all generated on a consumer graphics card with 5 gigabytes of VRAM.
So, I mean, the point is, this is in everybody's hands.
It's in everyone's hands, and again, we haven't even optimized the data. So in an hour, next slide, we're releasing the world's most advanced 3D model. So all of these are just generated just from descriptions. And so the fastest version of this does it in 1 second. So you can generate that dragon. But then the next step is you'll be able to control every element, make its horns bigger, make these adjustments. So how long would that take for a normal creative person in kind of industry? A huge amount of time, but now it works on the edge. And it works even faster in the cloud.
That's incredible.
It won't be when Nvidia turns into Skynet, bro. Dang.
These things are getting so lifelike.
They're gonna take over, bro.
Might be like Westworld.
Nah, bro, look at it. It's gonna be like Terminator. You know, they'll probably give it a gun before they give it legs.
He's probably right.
People don't even talk about Ceres. It has the most fresh water out of any other planet in our solar system. More
and
fresh water.
Where's this location?
That's the next planet after Mars, Ceres.
Really?
Ceres.
How big is it?
It's
like Pluto-sized?
It's about maybe 2/3 smaller than Mars. And guess
it's a
what?
dwarf planet. So it follows an orbit between Mars and Jupiter near the middle of the asteroid belt with an orbital period.
Listen, when they flew by it a few years ago, the lights were on. They sent the probe out there.
What?
The lights were on. And so they started trying to say it was ice particles glistening in the sunlight. So when they got to the dark side, guess what? The lights were on the dark side. So they couldn't use the ice particle explanation anymore. So they just said, we don't know what it is.
What? Ceres' small size means that even at its brightest, it's too dim to be seen by the naked eye, except under extremely dark skies. Its apparent magnitude ranges from 6.7 to 9.3, peaking in opposition when it's closest to Earth. As a result, Synodic. As a result, its surface features are barely visible even with the most powerful telescopes, and little was known about it until the robotic NASA spacecraft Dawn approached Ceres for its orbital mission in 2015.
Mm-hmm. And we have high-resolution images of the surface. There are strange things there as well.
They have the lights on.
Come on, bro. If NASA said it, it's bullshit.
We also found something to this day. There's not one scientist that can figure it out.
Really?
We think it's a wormhole.
What?
Yes.
So you saw something go in it?
No, come out of it.
Oh, come out of it.
And not just one, multiple things.
Whoa.
Some sort of cloud, we don't know what to call it.
Yeah.
That opens and closes, and multiple objects coming out of it.
Crazy.
Yes. And also what we did to make it very scientific is we triangulated. So we had cameras on the coast of California, and across in Catalina Island, and a third location.
Wow.
So from 3 locations, we were capturing data.
That's crazy.
I know. And then we had radar validate the cameras exactly in that location, showing these objects come out of that hole. We don't know what it is, so we're calling it a hole.
She can call it whatever she wants. Still bullshit.
These guys are independent. They're not part of NASA. We should watch the documentary.
This rock supposedly contains red mercury inside of it, and it was found in Egypt, and it can do strange things. This, for example, is what the man is going to experiment right now with the water bottle. He approaches the rock, see what happens. Now he's going to experiment with the bottle of Coca-Cola, and this is what happens. Check this out. Now, red mercury is supposedly a substance that does not exist. It was technically used in the 40s to produce atomic or something like that. Check this out. However, it was never proved that it existed. There's a lot to know about red mercury. There's a lot of videos going on, and if you'd like to know more, leave a like for part 2 and I'll explain everything.
Wonder what would happen if you drank that.
You start glowing like Mario and you can run through walls.
Talks about ayahuasca and he like shows how they make it and like what it does. It's literally 2 elements. It's the ayahuasca root and then this leaf. And either or, if you took it by themselves, wouldn't do anything. It's only combining them that you get the full DMT trip. So like, how were they taught that? They were told that it was a lady called like Mother God. That's what they like basically call her. She came and showed the people how to make this. So when she left, it would be the way that they could communicate with her.
Oh.
And he talks about these entities that teach the people things when they take this ayahuasca.
Yeah. And I guarantee one of the things that you have to reject is God.
Yeah. Which goes further down the thing of like the Watchers and like they taught root cutting and like, why did they teach root cutting and all that stuff? And it's like, because I fully believe that there is a realm that you can access by taking like DMT and stuff like that. That is
so no bueno. Is there a connection, a way to communicate through every work that they taught?
Oh yeah, that would be interesting.
Someone must have shown them how to make it, bro.
Yeah, I guess it's like weed. People kind of just been sitting around trying to smoke random plants. Someone must have shown them which to smoke.
It's the divine herb, bro.
Ayahuasca itself is not an Amazonian word. It comes from the Quechua language, and it means the vine of souls, or the vine of the dead. The ayahuasca vine is only one of 2 principal ingredients in the ayahuasca brew, and the other ingredient are leaves that contain dimethyltryptamine, and there are 2 sources of that. One is a bush called Psychotria viridis, that's its botanical name. They call it chacruna in the Amazon. And its leaves are rich in dimethyltryptamine, DMT, which is arguably the most powerful psychedelic known to science. The other source comes from another vine, Diplopteris cabrerana, which the leaves of that vine also contain DMT. So the ayahuasca vine on its own is not going to give you a visionary journey. And the leaves that contain DMT on their own, whether they come from Diplopteris or whether they come from chacruna, are not going to give you a visionary journey. And the reason they're not going to give you the visionary journey is because of the enzyme monoamine oxidase in the gut that shuts down DMT when absorbed orally. Basically, DMT is not accessible orally unless you combine it with a monoamine oxidase inhibitor. Because there's so many tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands different species of plants and trees in the Amazon.
Yeah, how could they have known to combine just those two?
They didn't, bro. Someone taught them.
Have you guys heard of the 100th monkey effect? Because Wikipedia says that this is a claim and a theory, but there's some pretty serious evidence about this effect. So in 1952, on the island of Koshima in Japan, scientists were providing monkeys with sweet potatoes dropped in the sand. The monkeys liked the sweet potato, but they didn't like the sand. They didn't like the dirt. Eventually, one female monkey started washing potatoes in a nearby stream, which then taught others, and then eventually this whole little tribe of monkeys starts washing their potatoes. But it took time, and the more and more monkeys that were doing it, of course others would learn. But that's not the crazy part. But then another pod of monkeys hundreds of miles away on another island that were being observed by scientists started washing their potatoes out of the blue. This is known as the 100th monkey effect, and it's basically that your DNA transcends distance and time, the time-space continuum, and the information that became encoded in the monkey's DNA that started washing those potatoes transcended distance and connected to the DNA through the consciousness of, per se, the Earth into the other monkeys, who then started spontaneously washing their potatoes. This is also referred to sometimes as critical mass. It's when a certain percentage of, let's say, people become aware of something and all of a sudden it spreads rapidly, not just by word of mouth, but consciousness.
I think the idea of a collective consciousness is interesting. Could be why people build pyramids all around the world.
Nah, bro. That was the Anunnaki.
This scientist claims that human consciousness comes from a higher dimension. Now, it's worth noting that scientists have been studying or trying to figure out where consciousness comes from for centuries, and they still don't know. So this is Michael Pravica. He studied at Harvard and the California Institute of Technology, and he received a PhD in experimental condensed matter physics. He suggests that human consciousness comes from a higher dimension. So this ties in well with the theory of hyperdimensionality. That is the idea that the universe goes way beyond the visible universe. It's not just made up of the 3 dimensions that we can perceive. Maybe dimensions that are invisible to us, but definitely exist. To understand this, you can go back to my parable of the gut bacteria. But it's essentially this. Imagine you're a bacterium that's living in the gut, okay? Food comes in, you consume the food. Your whole world, your whole perception is that enclosed structure that is the gut. You know nothing about the sun, you know nothing about the universe, you know nothing about farming, the stock market, all the things that go into the food that goes to the human being that consumes it so that the bacteria can consume it. All of that exists outside of the bacteria's perception. It wouldn't even begin to know how to comprehend it, but it still exists. Now, we exist in a 3-dimensional plane. Things can be measured by length, height, width, and time. We look at an object like this, we can see that it is a sphere because it has depth to it. But if we lived in a 2-dimensional plane, if we were looking at a sphere, all we would see is a circle. Our perception would not be able to comprehend this. So what we would see is this. Now, there's many different examples of what people believe is evidence that we are experiencing higher dimension. Even though you might not see a physical manifestation, when you engage your brain in certain ways like creating art, practicing science, pondering big philosophical questions, or traveling to all sorts of far-flung places, it expands your perceptions. You might be actually tapping into something that is higher than what you can perceive. Some people would call this inspiration, but what does inspiration come from? And the source of inspiration just is fascinating to me, like the simultaneous discovery theory. The fact that multiple inventors can exclusively be working on a project and receive inspiration to create something very similar, and they have no interaction with one another. What's fascinating to me about this is the fact that there's many people who have talked about the potential of your higher self, or higher forms of superconscious that you can tap into. Carl Jung would often speak of the collective unconscious, realm of knowledge that is shared beyond individual mind. But this collective unconscious come from a higher dimension. Loris Cannon, who is famous for pioneering the quantum healing hypnosis technique, often talks about accessing your higher self. Through her techniques, accessing people's past life regressions and then the life in between lives, their spirit guides, she gathered information about how not only do we incarnate on this earth, but we are also a conscious power that sends some of our consciousness to incarnation, but it's not always 100%. Dependent on the perceived difficulty, you might need to send more or you might need to send less. But the consciousness that is you can exist outside of your body and exist in the higher dimension. Paul Goddard would often talk about the power of consciousness and imagination to shape reality. You can do this by connecting to a universal mind in a higher dimension. Buddha taught about the escaping of the will of samsara, achieving nirvana, the ultimate state of reality beyond ego consciousness. Could this be a reference to a higher consciousness in a higher dimension? Jesus would talk about unity with God, the oneness that connects all beings within love. He also said the kingdom of God is within you. Is that a reference to a tiny piece of a higher consciousness that exists in a higher dimension that is within all of us? And honestly, the list goes on and on. You have Guru Nanak, who talked about Ek Onkar, idea that there is a single divine source or consciousness where all creation stems from. Everything is interconnected, both light and shadow, all an illusion to give us this reality, but we all stem from a higher consciousness or source. There are so many experiences where people talk about higher dimensions, whether through psychedelics, sacred medicines, meditation, breathwork, near-death experiences, UFO sightings. I mean, the fact that people can take psychedelics and one of the most common experiences that is reoccurring is seeing machine elves, these higher dimensional beings that we can't comprehend without going into that state of mind. I mean, like, what's the chances of that just reoccurring randomly? Listen, the more I learn, the less I know. The one thing I know is we are so limited by our own perceptions, we can't even comprehend what we don't know. But it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
I've said it before, but I think when you're being creative, you're tapping into something. When you're in this flow state, like improvising with an instrument or really focused in on something creative, it doesn't have to be creative. I imagine it's what people get from deep meditation.
Or eating a shitload of mushrooms.
There's something called the Doppler effect, and it describes how waves change based on motion. And so we've all heard a car drive by us, and you know how a car drives by us, it goes and it changes pitch? The reason it changes pitch is because short wavelengths of sound, we hear that as a high pitch, and long wavelengths of sound, we hear as a low pitch. So as the car is moving towards you, or towards me, that sound wave is getting kind of squished together as those wavefronts get closer, and I hear the pitch getting higher, and then the car goes vroom, and the pitch gets lower as the car moves away from me because those wavefronts are stretching out and getting further apart, so I hear the pitch getting lower. But now, if we add relativity to it, and we say that the car is moving away from the person on the left and towards the person on the right. Well, relative to the person on the left, the waves are stretching out and getting longer, so that person hears a low pitch. But at the exact same time, the person on the right, the waves are compressing and getting closer together, they hear the pitch getting higher. And the person in the car, they're traveling with the sound source or with the wave source, so they hear a medium pitch and no sound change at all. And then what you do right there is you stop and say, what sound is the car actually making for real? It's kind of a weird question, but yeah. Is it making a low pitch to the person on the left, a high pitch to the person on the right, or a medium pitch to the person in the car? And it's actually making all three sounds relative to who's looking at it. And then you say, imagine there's an infinite number of people, and they're all looking at that car, and they're all moving at different velocities. Every single person hears a different sound, and every single reality is real and valid. It's just that they're relative. And so you know that old question of if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around to hear it, does it make a sound? It doesn't. It makes a wave, and only if something's there with sound receptors does it make a sound. No. And so this same idea applies to light. So we all look at my shirt and we say, my shirt's blue, right? So you think we can see where this is heading. So we say my shirt's blue, but blue is a short wavelength of sound, and red is is a short wavelength of light, and red is a long wavelength of light. And so if everybody in the audience had a twin and your twins were up here with me and we shot away from you at close to the speed of light, the wavelengths of light would stretch out and get longer and all of you would see my shirt change to red. But your twins in motion with me, they would see my shirt as blue. And then again, we ask, what color is my shirt, red or blue? And it's literally both. And then we take one step further and we say, now imagine there's an infinite number of people all looking at my shirt and every person's moving at a different velocity. Every single person sees a different color and every reality is real.
This guy's really interesting. He got attacked and received brain damage, and when he recovered, he became a genius.
How can being hit in the head make you smarter?
It's called acquired savant syndrome, super rare.
It's not the Rothschild family. It's more the Rockefellers and the Walmart family. And the Walmart family, in reality, is called the Walton family. They hide behind the spotlight. The Walton family is the largest shareholder of Walmart, holding 50% of the company's shares. September 2024, Alice Walton, the heir, had a net worth of $88.9 billion, making her the 18th richest person and the richest woman in the world. And she's followed by her other relatives, and this is how much they're worth. Sam Walton, founder of Walmart, whose collective fortune derived from Walmart, makes them the richest family in the United States. This is their family tree. Meet the Waltons. They played a very important role in the American economy. And it's thanks to them that all of the mom and pop shops and smaller chains of stores got closed during the past 20 years. Let's start with Walmart history. This is them opening their first location. You'll notice how during the years, they keep on getting blonder and blonder. Very Nordic. And this is the typical Walmart family image that they want to give out. Like all American, hot dogs, barbecues, 4th of July type of thing. But it goes way deeper than what y'all thought. So how did they become an elite family of the United States? In 1987, Sam Walton created a foundation, the Walton Family Foundation, primarily focused on charter schools, but it later extended its program to include environmental issues, particularly water-related. That's very important, water. In 2016, James and Jim Walton put a $250 million grant towards building charter school facilities. The Walton Family Foundation created the Building Equity Initiative to provide charter schools with access to capital to create and expand their facilities. This initiative was established after the foundation announced in 2016 they would spend $1 billion over the next 5 years to expand educational opportunity by partnering with charter school operators, blah, blah, blah. Why does Walmart care? Another thing that Walmart did, Walmart bought TikTok, or to better say, a part of TikTok. Walmart is partnered with a company called Oracle. And Oracle is the company that now monitors TikTok, as it monitors a lot of other websites like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and they are paid $200 million a year to do this job. And since they've been hired, this is when all the accounts keep on getting taken down even faster and more rapidly than they did before. It was already bad, now it's like impossible to survive. These are the heirs of the Walmart fortune. Who knew that they had so much influence? They were the richest family in the USA? I didn't know that. You could technically consider them American royalty, but they created the royal line on their own. They are a family-led foundation. Sam and Helen Walton moved to Northwest Arkansas in 1950 to open up a five-and-dime store, and their passion for retail later led to the creation of Walmart. So their passion for doing like a little shop created Walmart that took out all the other little shops, and now we are all dependent on Walmart in the United States. This is why they don't let Walmart into Europe. They don't want that kind of power monopolized into one family. These are the Waltons, the owners of Walmart.
That's crazy that they're behind all the censorship on TikTok.
That ain't all they do, bro. But we'll have to save that for next time.
God, October, we've got to do this week's giveaway. If you guys want some of our merch, just leave a comment on this video for a chance to win.
If you guys want to support our channel, go grab some merch or think about becoming a member. Members get an extra episode every week, bro. Let's do this, bro.
Oi, oi.
Get in touch and we'll send you out a shirt, right?
And as always, thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one.